Bobby, how's it going?
Doing well, Jonna. How are you doing?
Good. I'm excited to dive in and talk Yanks. Like this has been like the weirdest wait of a week though, because I'm like, can we just get there?
I know. It's like we're getting there, and we're gonna be like so nervous once it comes, and so like uptight. So it's almost like we're excited just to be nervous. But I can't wait either. It's gonna be so fun.
Totally. Yeah. No, it definitely beats last year where we didn't have anything in October. So
Hmm.
I'll take it. I'll take the wait. But it's hard watching all these other teams and they're like already in the thick of it, and it does concern me a little bit, like having all this time off. But we'll see.
We'll get into it. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting because I don't know. It's a weird feeling too because it depends on the team, I think. But we'll I don't know with this team, they're hot and cold no matter what they do. So
Yes, yeah. Well, I didn't really dive into introducing us, which I should do for our listeners. Welcome to the first segment of We Don't Have a Name, but for tonight, I'm going to call it On Pinstripes.
ooh, I
Um,
like it.
I'm Jonna Perlinger. I'm a baseball content lead and lead Yankees writer at ONNJ. I've got Bobby Santoro. He's here with me. He's sports content manager for ONNJ. So welcome, listeners, and hopefully we'll be able to bring more of this content your way. Yeah, so I'll just dive right in. Today is actually Bucky Dent Day, October 2nd. So for those unfamiliar, Bucky Dent, October 2nd, 1978, the Yankees faced the Red Sox at Fenway Park. It was game 163 of the season, and at that time, they didn't. They had to do a tiebreaker game for the ALCS title. So the wild card game or wild card series rather was still 15 years away from creation. So it was a winner take all showdown. It wrapped up with a heated pennant race. Dent gave the Yankees a home run lead in the seventh. And then later in that inning, they extended the lead 4-2 on a Thurman Munson double that pushed the advantage to 5-2. And Reggie Jackson came in clutch homering to lead off the eighth to extend the Yankees' lead. The Yankees had trailed that year as of July 19th that year. They trailed the Red Sox by 14 games. And when they replaced then manager Billy Martin with Bob Lemon, they went on to defeat the Royals in the ALCS and then the Dodgers in the World Series. So
What a time.
what a time. And people still talk about it. And I wish we could tell you all what Bucky Dent's nickname was, like moving forward, but you'll have to Google that and look it up if you're unfamiliar. We can't do that on New Jersey.
We can't.
But my question to you. So Bucky Dent going into that game, that was his fifth home run of the season. So he wasn't a big power hitter. He wasn't really a clutch guy for the Yankees. Who do you think is going to be to give us a Bucky Dent-like moment in the postseason?
Well, I mean, for me, if I'm giving us one person now, yeah, like you said, someone who we don't kind of expect. So, I mean, you could have the easy answers, obviously, or Judge, Soto, all that. But I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say, and this is going to sound weird, but I'm going to say maybe someone like Alex Verdugo, who could easily now look. He's struggled. He's been someone who we've all kind of been frustrated with, but he's someone who's been to the World Series before. I mean, he's been there with the Red Sox. He's been able to he has postseason experience, and we've seen that when he gets hot or when he's in a big spot, he can deliver. So I'm going to go with him. I mean, it's kind of just someone who I think has the experience, has been there, and who could just with one swing of the bat easily change the trajectory of this team's postseason.
I love that answer. I hope you're right. Let's get the dogs going again.
Oh yeah.
The Astros are out via sweep, which is how they came in. We swept them in the very first series of the year. So let's get the dogs going. Let the dogs out. I love that answer. Mine's kind of two-part. I can see Volpe maybe going on like a little hitting streak, maybe an RBI streak for us. I like that just because like this is his first postseason. He grew up going to these postseason games. He knows how electric it is, and he knows how clutch those moments are. So I like I'd like to think Volpe, but I'm also going to say Trent Grisham just because he's our wild card, and I feel like throughout the season he gave us like little glimpses here and there of some clutch moments that were totally unexpected. So,
Oh yeah,
my
absolutely. Especially
that's my,
defense too. You know he'll be in there late in games. So
oh yeah, I know his defense is totally underrated in my
mhm.
opinion. Which we're going to get into later. We're going to get into kind of like what you think is going to happen with left field. So before we get to that, let's dive into the rotation. So we've got Cole game 1, Rodon game 2, Heel game 3, Cole game 4, Rodon game 5.
Right.
What are your thoughts? Any thoughts?
Just thinking about it, like I mean, all right, look. So it never to me it doesn't. I can't say enough about how big that first game with Garrett Cole is. How much we have to have that game no matter what. Now you always feel confident with him. Other than that one start that he had in Boston a couple of years back, I feel like he's been pretty good in the postseason for us. So you want to see him, he's been able to elevate his game and elevate to that level. But I mean, if he has one of those games where he gives up maybe a run or 2 runs and we can't even score, and all of a sudden we're down, one game to nothing with Rodon on the mound, like I think Rodon can deliver. But my God, is he a head case? So I just, it really like it could go either way with him. So I don't mind it. I don't mind if Nestor was still healthy. I'd rather Nestor be in that third spot than Heel right now, just because I'm not going to say Heel should be the closer or anything like that. But you want someone like Heel or even Nestor, I guess maybe too, if he was healthy, to be out of the pen if you need him. So I mean, look, I feel like this could go either very very well or very very bad, which is like kind of the way it's gone for them this year. But I mean, I'll go in confident. I'll go in confident. So
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you on Heel. My only concern with this this trio is Heel is a head case, and if we get down in the first couple innings, like man, you really hate for us to have to like burn up the bullpen. I do feel a lot more comfortable with now that we've got Clark down in the bullpen, but you don't want to have to like rely on that in case we were to need him like really bad in game 4 or game 5, right?
right.
So that's my only like hang up. God, Cole he's unreal. He's got a 10-6 record in the postseason with an ERA of 2.93. He averages 7.8 strikeouts per outing in the postseason with 134 strikeouts and 17 appearances. So, Cole, he's also just getting so hot at the right time. He just gave us a 6.2 scoreless innings and a 10-1 win over Baltimore. He went 9 innings before that, scoreless innings against the A's, which that was incredible. So he's getting hot at the right time. I trust him. He's a good leader. Rodon this year, I have nothing bad to say about him. I feel like he's living for these big moments too. Like when Cole was out, I think he was totally living for being like the guy.
Oh yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, last year too with him, it's like, look, he's his first year with the team, and he what did he throw, like maybe an inning in spring training before he got hurt, and then that's when he kind of had that whole IL stint. So he was still getting his feet wet when he came back. I think he's one of those players too, where the more each year that goes by that we see him in New York, the more comfortable he'll be here and the better he'll pitch. Because, like you said, he's like he could be a head case like Heel too, and but he could be a head case in a good way. Like when he's talking to himself on the mound or he's doing stuff like that. So I think the more comfortable he gets, the better he'll be. And honestly, like you put him, you put him on that mound in game 2, which I think hopefully we'll be able to go there for game 2. He'll thrive off that electric atmosphere, I think, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. In addition to like his growing confidence, and he's become good friends with Cole, which is that definitely helps. But he's added in to his arsenal this year. He added in his changeup, in addition to his fastball slider combo that he already had. So his fastball usage is down, which is good. and he's mixing in more changeup and curveball. So
Yeah.
I like that. I feel confident there. Heel is so young. Um, like it's really just a mentality issue for me. So, but we'll see.
It is, yeah. I mean, you almost think of like Heel in the, but not in like, so not in the way of a reliever, but you think of like when Jabba Chamberlain came up years ago, a long time ago
Yeah.
now, I guess. But like how him in the postseason, he was
15 years.
great the whole season long, and that Midges game, like he gets into his head, and he's never the same after it. It's completely different with Heel, but you see young pitchers who pitch so well when the big spot comes on. The only one I think who I've seen ever like just not care about the big spotlight, even though he might not have been as young as we thought, was Orlando Hernandez, like El Duque back in '98. Because I mean, he was like, "Look, I escaped from Cuba to come here. Nothing phases me right now."
Totally.
So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. But I like you said, if he's on his game, if he can eat through some innings, he does throw a lot of pitches. He strikes a lot of people out. He walks a lot of people. We'll have to see. That's all the more reason for having to have Cole or Rodon, even though there'll be a day off in between the game 2 and 3. But you want to have them go pretty far into the game. You don't want to tax your bullpen, especially with the bullpen that we have right now. So.
Totally. Yeah. Well, I like where we're at on that. Now let's dive over to first base and talk about what's going to happen there in light of Rizzo, his injury. We don't know if he'll be back or not. I think he's pretty determined to get back, but I don't know how I feel about that. But yeah, who do you think gets the job?
If it's not Rizzo, we are in trouble. I only think I think we're in trouble just because of the way that, I mean, you saw over the past couple of weeks the picks that Rizzo had at first base, saving some throwing errors from Jazz or from Volpe. I mean, you're not going to get that with anyone else on the team right now. I mean, you don't have a true traditional backup first baseman.
Right.
So whether it be, I mean, I guess the closest you have is maybe Rice, but like, you saw him struggle down the road too. So it's a matter of who you think can go in there and actually save errors from happening. I mean, hitting wise, none of the options, whether it be Rice, DJ, anyone else who you kind of have there, go to first base. I mean, it's going to be tough hitting wise too. But the only reason why I'd say Rice is obviously the lefty at Yankee Stadium. But with DJ, look, the Yankees hit into a lot of double plays this year, and you can't afford to kill rallies like that in the postseason. I mean, I looked it up right before this. I mean, I'm looking here. I mean, Judge hit into the most, but I mean, he's playing every day and whatever. It's Judge. But I mean, aside from him, you have Stanton hitting to 17. There's Verdugo 14, DJ 13. I mean, Rice had only, I think, 50 less at bats than DJ, and he hit into 2. So look, if Rice does strike out a lot, whatever. But if he's not, I'd rather him strike out than kill a rally with a double play at the end or something like that. So you never know, but that's just my 2 cents on it. If it's not Rizzo, I'd say Rice.
Personally, I'd like to see Cabrera. Although, like, I mean, it's tough because that's his 5th most played position, and obviously he's a utility guy, so like he's played all over the freaking place. But like in terms of like their defense, probably I think him and Rice, it's like a toss up, right? I just feel like he's earned the job. I feel like he's coming and he's ready to go every single time they put him out there. His fire and his passion and like that's the kind of energy you need in the postseason. So that's where I'm at. I think Rice, Cabrera, it's like meh, tit for tat, but
yeah, I agree though. I mean, I think Cabrera is going to be on the roster either way. So I mean, whether he's at first or whether they kind of get him anywhere in the corner, the corner outfield positions, or in the infield too. I mean, you mentioning him too, like he could be someone who could have that like Bucky that moment, even though he's been around for a while. I mean, I could easily see him coming up with a huge hit.
I mean, he had a Bucky didn't like moment in the 2022 postseason, and that was his first, first year. So it could very well be him. I think like the reason why I'm hung up on Cabrera is like, you keep saying like this is our utility guy, but like what other moment are we going to use him? Like they keep saying like, oh, this is our utility. Well, this is your moment. So I'd like to see him get the job. I think he's earned it. I think his energy, his vibes. I hate to say that, but I like Cabrera.
Yeah.
Left field. Let's get there. Let's get into it. Dominguez, Verdugo. And Grisham. I mean, we got Grisham as an option as well, but
Yeah. So with this, it's so tough because you know what? I look all year, and I mean the easy thing for me to say is here is Dominguez. I've wanted him there all year. Wanted him there earlier. Obviously, he's been hurt, but and when he first came back is when I wanted him up because you've seen it with him. I mean, he's kind of going through some growing pains out there, and still adjusting to major league pitching. And Verdugo has been just a soft ground ball to second base machine. So it's been very tough. So it's gonna be tough to even say put Verdugo out there over Dominguez. But the reason why is, I mean, again, the fielding. I mean, this team has the way they played in the field has just been, it's something that you're like, I'm just waiting. I'm sitting here waiting for a Gleyber Torres throwing error or like a Jazz. I'm waiting for something to kill us in a game. So, I mean, you want to tighten up the defense, and it would be easy to tighten it up if you knew this team was hitting enough to like say, okay, look, we can take away we'll take away the bat of Dominguez to put the glove of Verdugo in left because we know that we'll be able to, put up some runs, which this team can, but we haven't seen them, especially in the playoffs. Not Aaron Judge has been unbelievable for this team. He's obviously the captain. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's a lifetime Yankee. He hasn't really shown up in the postseason yet. So if we can see that with him and Soto, and maybe you see that go, maybe in game one, they put up a lot of runs with whoever they play out there. If they have Verdugo out there in game one and they can put up runs and his bat doesn't really matter, they'll keep him out there in game two. I think you need Dominguez on the roster. But then again, when we get down to who's going to be on the roster and who's not, that's a tough decision too. So I'm glad I'm not Brian Cashman right now.
Yeah. No, I almost think you platoon them, and I'm not talking like one game Verdugo gets it, Dominguez gets the next game. I'm talking let's bring Dominguez in, let him bat through like maybe the 6th inning, and then like 7th, 8th, 9th, bring Verdugo in, and just depending on where you're at, and use his defense late in the game when things get kind of tense. It seems like the Yankees make a lot of their throwing errors in the 8th, 7th, 8th, 9th innings. Like things just seem to kind of fall apart. It seems like that's when Gleyber usually kind of gets in his head, and we've seen it with Dominguez a few times too. So and we've seen the Yankees do that. We've seen them bring Verdugo in later in the game, and in my opinion, I don't know why, but I'm thinking it's probably a defense related thing.
Yeah, I would say so too. I mean, I think that's why. And Dominguez is obviously he's your left fielder or center fielder if God forbid Soto doesn't come back. But he's in the outfield for years to come. So I mean, he's there. You have Verdugo for just this year, most likely, and you have him like you went out and you got him for a reason, for moments like this to be kind of a spark in that clubhouse. Like I said too. I mean, you're going to be more athletic with Dominguez on the base pass, and Dominguez can get hot for you at any time. Great. It's just a matter of how the lineup hits and how you're going to structure the lineup, and obviously who you're going against pitching wise and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it'll be like you said. I'm glad I'm not making these decisions, but we're still gonna like act like we know what we're talking about because that's what we do. We watch 162 games this season, and I think we come at it from a more like holistic view. And not like, just blinders on to analytics. And sometimes it's like, I feel like our feel for the game because we watch every single game and we've seen this movie before, it's like, that's so frustrating to me.
We could go through a whole another hour of that too. Cause like analytics, I'm like, oh, all right, what, but that's another day.
Let's circle back around to the pitching and talk bullpen / like closer role. Thoughts on any of that? We've got Jake Cousins coming back for the ALDS, which is great from his pectoral strain. I think that's all good there. I feel better than I did.
Yeah.
But the Yankees have a big decision to make with the closer role and setup guy, all of that.
It's interesting, yeah, because like we said too, we haven't had anyone all year who has that like swing and miss stuff. Someone who can finish someone off and put them away. And I mean, look, the easy answer here is going to be Luke Weaver because he's been doing it for the past I don't know how long now, a couple weeks. At least maybe a month. But he's been ever since they slid him in there, he's looked good. Now it's a different animal in the postseason. It's a different animal too, not only not only in the postseason, but also like he's gonna have to, if we're gonna win the World Series, we're gonna make a run. He's gonna have to save some games on the road. So it's a matter of going into a hostile environment. Now, granted, now he doesn't have to go into Houston if that happens, but if I don't know what's going on in the Baltimore game right now, if they if they've been bounced yet or not, but in these hostile environments, that's being a closer is just such a mental. You have to be mentally tough to do it, and I think he can do it. I I mean, God, when Clay Holmes comes into the game, we're all going to lose years off our lives. You know what's going to happen in some big spot, whatever. But yeah, I'd say him with the closer. Jake Cousins coming back is going to be great. You have Canely. Uh, I mean, and long relief out of the pen is Schmidt, and I don't know what you do with Stroman because I don't. I don't know about him right now. I mean, I'd rather have him. I'd honestly rather have him as a starter, but I don't want him as a starter right now. So I'd rather.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
gonna
yeah, yeah. I mean,
keep him on the roster.
I hate to say it, but like Stroman, I mean, he gives up a lot of home runs. He doesn't get a lot of strikeouts. I don't I don't know what we do with him. But a name I really haven't seen a lot about that I'm curious about is Cody Petit because like he gave us 3 solid starts this year. He had that injury, but he was solid for us, and he is a swing and miss guy. So I don't know. I'd kind of like to see him in there, but I haven't really heard anything about it, so I don't know.
I haven't either, and you're right too, because he was good when he was in, and because he hasn't played that much, or he's been hurt and he hasn't pitched that much. As long as he's healthy, that means other teams don't really have much to go off of when it comes to the game.
Totally,
So that
exactly.
it could be a great weapon too out of the pen that you can use. It'll be interesting to see who they actually want to, who they want to bring in with them. And I know things can change between one series and another, but they're tough decisions, certainly are.
Yeah. Yeah. Now back to like the importance of mentality. Matt Blake said this week. He said on Weaver, his mentality in the bullpen has been attack mode, and you've seen some really good strikeout weapons from him. Sometimes relievers have 1.5 pitches. He's got 3 or 4. So good option there. I love Luke Weaver. I think he's an absolute bulldog, and he just goes out there and he's able to just like tune everything out, shut everything off. Clay Holmes, the only thing I can come up with at this point is he's all up in his head, and there's like the Joey Gallo effect almost of like he's just totally wrecked.
He is, and it's funny because he's a contact pitcher, so he induces a lot of ground balls. But it's always when he does, I don't know what it is, but we're not lined up where they're going, and it's always. I hate to say it. I mean, like, yeah, he's given up so many blown saves, and it is like it's awful to see him come into games and give up blown saves. But there are some, I would say, a couple of the games where there have been some soft hit ground balls that just no one's been there. We haven't been able to capitalize, and
Yeah.
that all and I don't care who you are, that's still going to get in your head as a closer. Like I can't shut the door. I don't know what I'm going to do. So it's going to be very where he's going to come in a big spot at some point. I don't think they're going to use him to close a game. At least in the first round. But
Yeah.
I know it's going
God
to
help
happen.
us if they do.
Yeah. If that happens, I mean, like he'll be in a big spot. We'll see if he can get out of it. There's so many things. It's a whole different new season. So you never know. You never know how it's going to go. We just hope that we don't see the same Yankee team that we've seen in the past that just doesn't hit and is, just every game's just a grind. Like it's going to be tough.
Judge said earlier this season that he's really matured at the plate, and so like you don't see as many strikeouts. You see a lot more walks, and I don't know. Maybe credit to Soto for some of that because I mean, he sees the ball better than anyone in baseball. So I feel good about it. I feel better. I want Stanton though to really come on strong this postseason. We need it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, having Austin Wells is going to be something that we haven't had in years past too. Now that's another thing that we can always talk about is seeing what they do with like Trevino and like you don't know if Cole really wants Trevino to catch him in game 1, 2. I mean, I think we've heard that Cole is kind of okay with both of them, but I mean, and you want to know what kind of Austin Wells you're seeing too, because Austin Wells he struggled a little bit down the stretch, but when we see the best Austin Wells, it's the Austin Wells that can take the ball to all fields. So he has a big looping swing. But when he can hit, but his swing, I've seen him the best when he just drives the ball out to left center field, and he can also, but then he'll also pull a ball, over the short porch. He kind of gets in a habit. Volpe does this too sometimes. I don't know if it's just being a young hitter or not, but they're pulling their head out and they're trying just all or nothing swings, which is fine and all, I guess, for some of this analytic stuff. But to be honest with you, you're not going to get the best out of them in that situation.
No.
So it'll depend on how he hits behind, Judge or Stanton. And then, I mean, we've seen, like you said, if we get a good Stanton in the postseason, which we normally have, this offense should be in a good groove.
Yeah. You're right. Like we just need these guys to remember, like, we don't need power from you. We need you to get on base. We need small ball. Go out there and, just get on base.
Yeah, exactly.
Let the big guys do the job, So yeah, I know it'll be interesting. So final thoughts on the roster, who should be left off? Like to me, it's a toss up.
It is. To me, because you got to think that one of Verdugo, Grisham, or Dominguez will be left off if you think about it. Because you gotta, or add Oswaldo to it if you want. But I think Oswaldo makes the team. So it's one of them, and it's very tough to see which one you would do. Ideally, I don't know. I really don't know who I would take. I would have to sit here for a long time, and then I'd still probably like second guess who. The easy answer would be, okay, Verdugo's hasn't played well, and you want to go young, whatever. But you want that experience, just like you want Rizzo. Like I said it all year when he was hurt. Him not being in that clubhouse was a killer for them. If Rizzo can shoot
and
up,
not only the clubhouse, but like the infield, the corner infield, we were a mess. On both sides.
And every time there was a mound visit, Rizzo's one of the first people out there to the mound too. So you miss that you want that kind of leadership, that mental toughness to have on the field, in the clubhouse, and on your team. So right now I would say, and I hate to say it, maybe Dominguez gets left off for right now, but who knows? Who knows how they'll do it? If they want the defense and they want Grisham to stay on there with them, it'll be Grisham and Verdugo. But we'll see.
I'm probably one of the few, but I am a Grisham fan, and I think his defense is just so solid. And he does come up pretty clutch in moments. But yeah, it's a tough ordeal. And personally, I'd like to see them leave Clay Holmes off the roster. But that's never going to happen.
Right. If only.
But yeah, the last thing we have to cover, Royals or Orioles? Like, what are your thoughts?
I don't know. Because at this point, we talked about this before. The Tigers and the Royals are starting to scare me here. The way how well they've been playing. They have nothing to lose. This is where I think, though, it might benefit the Yankees from having that little bit of a rest, especially this team too. Because this team, it doesn't matter if they're hot, if they keep playing or not. You're going to get what you're going to get. But to see maybe the Tigers upset the Astros, and we're still word's still out on the Royals and the Orioles, but to see them kind of be like, okay, these guys, they just got in, but they're the real deal. Maybe it preps them a little bit better, but it's we didn't look too good against the Orioles that last week of the season, so maybe I'll take the Royals.
No, and we're 8-5 on the Orioles this year, or sorry, 5-8 on the Orioles this year, and 5-2 on the Royals. I don't know. Selfishly, I do want to play the Royals because I live 2.5 hours away from Kaufman, so I'm ready to go. But it's tough though, because you don't want to strike a team that's like super hot right now either. Mm-hmm. And they are, and this might be like their year to capitalize. That how long is Salvador Perez going to be around?
Right. Exactly. And yeah, we saw it with the Diamondbacks last year. So we could see any team can get on a run, and especially if you're young and you're hot, that's all you need.
Totally. Yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll see. I feel like we covered the bases, and hopefully we'll be back soon, continuing our postseason coverage. But before we close out, I want to ask you, do you have a favorite moment in postseason history?
Ooh.
All right, so we have so much history; it's really hard to answer that.
I'll narrow it down like this. The favorite moment that I've like witnessed in postseason history, I would say like in person, like at the stadium was I'll go with like so they're both back in 2017 because I mean like the DD home run being there for that DD home run in the ALDS I remember just sitting there with our friends saying if he goes deep like I mean we had beer so if he goes deep we're finishing our drinks right now and he did it. I mean it was awesome. I was at Game 4 that year the ALCS where they were down. God, I don't even know how much they were down in the eighth inning where they had that big 3 on eighth inning that kind of took the lead. Were able to take the lead against Houston. So in person, I would say that. I mean, look, when I was younger, I was there in '01 when Jeter kind of like flipped over. Not to dive into the stands that we saw against Boston. They're going to win against Oakland where he kind of flipped
third
over.
baseline when he
Yeah.
flipped over yeah.
Right. It was great. I was there. I think that was the day they won the division series too. So it was awesome. But I was also that was '01. So I guess I had to be 9. So it's like it's fun. It's great to be there, and those are memories I'll love forever. Watching them on TV, but in person, I would have to say one of those two.
Yeah.
What about you?
I like that. I mean, oh my gosh, there are so many. Like you really can't narrow them down. I mean, Aaron Hicks had some big moments even in 2019. God, was Clint Frazier here then too? Not Clint Frazier, sorry. Not Clint Frazier. Oh gosh.
Greg
What was
Bird?
his name? Third baseman.
Todd Frazier.
Frazier.
Yeah.
Todd Frazier. Godfather.
Yeah,
that was such a fun year too. Like remember the thumbs down?
Yep.
I mean, obviously, like that in terms of like what I'm actually able to remember graphically, Aaron Boone's home run was pretty big. I mean, I know of all these other moments in like the mid 90s, but it's hard to put your finger on those when like I don't remember them super graphically, but like Aaron Boone's home run was big. I remember that.
Right. It's funny to think too because I think of like when I watch those moments again and like I think if it was us now watching that I would be like I'd be going nuts. I don't know how I'd be able to handle like the stress of that because I sit here and I pace in my house when this happens. So like I'm like I get so
I know.
It's great. Yeah.
Like honestly, I don't know how my dad and like fans survived those 90s games, like all those high stakes. I mean, I was watching them, but obviously didn't understand like the magnitude. Yeah, I think we're in for a year here. Everybody get your anxiety meds ready to go. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no. Hopefully we have more big moments like that to remember, and we'll remember them. They'll be in our minds. We're old enough now.
Yeah. Yeah, we're old enough now. We'll be able to talk about them, so that'd be great.
Pass it on to your kids.
Yeah.
That's all right. Well, sorry, I gotta get my little slide up here because we're obviously new to this, but please go ahead and give us a follow. We would love that. You can follow on New Jersey at ONNJ Sports on Instagram and on Twitter. You can follow me at 90s Yanks Kid and Bobby at B Santoro 112. We'd really appreciate a follow. Go Yankees. And that concludes our first ever episode.
Let's do it. Hopefully it's the first of many.